starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SECAF's webinar entitled The Professional Services Category Introduces its Supplier Marketing Initiative. My name is Donna Kilborn, and I am a member of the SECAF Board of Directors, the co-chair of the Programs Committee, and Chief Revenue Officer for Uninet, which helps organizations of all sizes better manage project people and financials through our project-based ERP solution. First, let me share some guidelines regarding today's webinar. Each of you should have a small control panel in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. All participants today are muted, but you may certainly ask a question at any time by typing it into the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. If we have time at the end to answer some of these questions, we absolutely will. And if we do not, then we will review those questions and respond to you after the webinar. Below the questions box, you will see handouts. We have provided four handouts, including today's presentation. The other handouts will be explained later during the presentation. And last but not least, we will provide a copy of today's webinar presentation and a recording to all the attendees from today. For those of you who may not know, SECAF is an association with a mission to serve government contractors of all sizes. Our objectives are to educate, empower, and enable growth for the government contractor community. We bring key government and industry leaders together to interact with our member companies to help them navigate the world of government contracting. Today's webinar is titled The Professional Services Category Introduces its Supplier Marketing Initiative, and it is my pleasure to introduce Zachary Lerner. Zachary works at the United States General Services Administration, GSA, Federal Acquisition Service, as a Supplier Relationship Management Specialist for the Professional Services category. Zachary joined GSA in July of 2009 and has worked an Acquisition Gateway Content Manager and separately as a project manager with an emphasis on sustainability and mobility projects for GSA's Northeast and Caribbean region in New York City. Zachary, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. So that was a lovely introduction. I am Zachary Lerner, the Supplier Relationship Management Specialist for the Professional Services category. And today I'll be talking to you about our Supplier Marketing Initiative. In fact, introducing it. This is the first time I've made this presentation, so I'm kind of excited to roll it out and see what response I get. So the way that this presentation is going to go, it's going to take me about 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to run through all of my slides, talk about the whys and the hows and why we're standing this initiative up. Please keep in mind that this is absolutely under development right now during Q1. We are going to finalize and publicize in Q2, but now is really the time to shape the discussion. And that's why you'll have found that Julia Nelson shared a survey, which is one question long, a supplement to that survey that explains what you're looking at, and that I will segue during the presentation to that explainer because it's a series of screenshots, and I've already heard someone say that their eyesight can't really manage to look at everything. So I'm going to give a brief overview of what you see when you look at those different screenshots, and then I'll finish up and take some questions. So that's the course of this presentation. I'm going to get right to it. Very quickly in the purpose, both in the Supplier Relationship Management Survey that's issued every year and in just recent feedback, I think there were some suppliers that indicated dissatisfaction with how PSHC supports its suppliers. And more broadly, we hear from both our suppliers and some of our more operational federal acquisition workforce members that category management, the goals and the purposes and the actions required of people are unclear. So the Supplier Marketing Initiative is one of our steps to fix that. So what is it? There are three things that I really, there's a number of slides. I'm not going to read what's on the screen in front of you. There are three things that I really want this initiative to accomplish. The first is to give you, people that work with the federal government and help us achieve our missions, I want to give you insight into category management. And I want to do that by making tools and dashboards available to you that help you understand how the federal government sees your business in the context of category management. The second, I want to help you position yourself within that category management framework and use it as a talking point when you have discussions related to specific task orders being issued by the Federal Acquisition Workforce. So whether you're talking with a contracting officer or a contracting officer representative, or even a program manager who's going to be helped by the acquisition or the procurement that's being made, how you can speak to the tier of the contract vehicle that you're on, for example, will really, I think, provide an advantage to you and at least act as a talking point. And three, this is the selfish part of it. So when you're out there, once you have the tools and you can kind of understand your place within category management, that conversation that you'll be having with contracting officers and contracting officer representatives will help us as well. I think to a certain extent, category management is a very strategic initiative. And then when people are down to getting their work done, they have a stack of paper on their desk. If they still have stacks of paper on their desk, it might be an electronic stack of paper on their desk. But they're really crunched for time and they don't have time to listen to someone expound on the benefits that category management will have for the federal government at large. They're concerned about what is due for them today, tomorrow, this week. So when they're in the act of competing a requirement and the suppliers that are responding to their inquiries and are competing for that requirement talk about category management as a reason to continue or to continue to help understand the market, that will make a significant difference. So we're going to help you, but we also hope you help us expand the knowledge within the federal acquisition workforce. So what's in it for you? So I think this initiative is going to go a long ways towards reducing uncertainty in terms of how category management is affecting you. I'm going to expand your knowledge of what's available to you, what's out there right now. Some of the things that are in that survey are actually public dashboards, and that might be a surprise, but I'm waffling on whether or not I'm going to tell you that they're public or not, and maybe just let you select ones that are already public and then half my work is done, but I think I'll tell you. You can find yourself and then use that to build an opportunity pipeline. I can think of one dashboard in particular that just is in fact a pipeline. The dashboards that I'll be showing you today, just a heads up, these are all based upon FPDS data. So there are a number of different ways to get at that information, but that's public information. What is new and the way that we look at things, it's how we apply category management terms and filters to that FPDS data, which I think is the extra benefit. And here's the why from my perspective. That number 5,000 versus 200, that 5,000 represents all the industry partners that we have on the professional services schedule, OASIS, and HCATS, which is not professional services, it's human capital, but we're tied so closely to them, I can't help but wrap them into that, so I get a nice round number. It's 5,000 versus 200, those are the number of customer and stakeholder engagement representatives that work for GSA that go and talk with our federal acquisition workforce. So you have 200 people explaining what category management is and why it's important versus 5,000. And those 5,000 are industry partners. You are frankly more motivated to understand this and explain it to the people that you're working with. So that's a factor of 25. That's huge. More about our supplier marketing initiative. So I see this as falling within the intermediate and advanced categories. Maybe I should use different words there. I don't know. But if you're just starting to work with the federal government, that's really not part of the supplier marketing initiative. This initiative is not meant to answer questions about how multiple award schedules work. How do you get on OASIS? Those are not questions that we're seeking to answer right now. And there are many resources that can do that. The Vendor Support Center, for one. GSA Interact right now is talking very much about the OASIS on-ramps. The resources are out there, and listen, if you contact me after the fact, I'll be happy to point you to those people. I'm here to talk about this marketing initiative, which is here to educate our industry partners on really cut through category management, really explain best in class. I've had people say, how do I become a best in class company? Well, companies don't become best in class. Contract vehicles are best in class. And that's an important distinction to make. It's not your fault if you're not best in class. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a comment on your company. It's actually something that only applies to IDIQs. Things like TDR, I'm not touching TDR today. There are a number of resources out there. I'm just indicating TDR because I think it's at least an intermediate level of complexity, and other category initiatives. And the advanced part is the use of those dashboards and public tools to help you understand your place. So at the very least, I want you to understand category management concepts. And the advanced part of it is the applied action of using those tools and dashboards to get at it and find yourself in the mix. Ultimately, I want to release a number of webinars on these different tools that we're making available to really take deep dives into them. And so it's great that you're going to be on the line and help me today find some of those areas of interest for you. Okay, so here's the survey, and I'm going to segue into the side presentation, which is actually just an explainer of the 15 screenshots within the survey. So how this is going to work, we're going to issue this survey. You should look at it now and answer it now as best you can. Please, if you don't have the link itself, if you're asking, why is he talking about a survey? I don't have a link. Please look for your invitation from Julia. It was sent out a few days ago, and that will have a direct link to the presentation. Answer that one question or pull it up before you, and if you look at it and you go, what the heck is this? Don't worry, I'm going to explain what that is. So you'll answer that question. We'll review what you put in there and use that to inform our ask to the category management, program management office to see basically how much of that they're going to allow us to make public. I think that this is all very worthwhile, and none of it is really, we're not sharing proprietary information. We're sharing the government perspective on category management, which we know we need to get out there. So this is going to be a win for us. And then finally, we'll include those dashboards in our marketing initiative. So once we know what we have, we're going to make that available. So the survey, I'm going to switch screens right here. Here we go. Okay, so what we'll be reviewing today as part of the survey are these screenshots of data to decisions dashboards. They're a federal resource. Some of them are federal only resources, and they portray FPDS data as they pertain to category management initiatives. So each one of these is a screen that people within GSA and anyone who is involved in category management across the government look at to understand how it's reflected across our industry base and whether or not they're meeting their goals for spend under management, which is any dollars that are allocated to Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 vehicles. Tier 3 is also best in class, and also specific goals under best in class. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes on each one because we simply don't have that much time. I just want to point out, hit the high notes and then keep moving. So here we have the GSA FAS managed spend. Each one of these indicates supplier. So this covers the entire scope of the federal government. This is information that comes from FPDS, but in this case, it says, okay, how much of the money that is associated with these companies is managed spend and how much is unmanaged spend, and it has a percentage from there. Depending on where you are in all of that, you can filter down by the categories of spend. Categories of spend, I work for the professional services category. There are 10 civilian categories of spend. And within those categories are subcategories. There are 8 subcategories within the professional services category. So you can drill down to those levels, or you can look at specific agencies that you're working with or that you're targeting. And you can see from their perspective how much money is flowing to your company, which you probably know. But what you may not know is how much of that spend is actually routed through a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 vehicle. And that creates an opportunity because you'll start to be able to fill in those gaps. Okay, the awards exploration tool, which is the next one. This is very much expiring contract awards, right? This is your pipeline. This is similar to, but not replicating, published contract award information. This spits it out a year in advance. Frankly, I think it should look 2 to 3 years in advance because that makes it easier to plan. However, if you need to cross-reference and go further, that information isn't FPDS. What it does is it also overlays those, you can see right here, tiers of vehicle. So if you want to search expiring contracts in the next year on tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 vehicles, or tier 0, that will give you a data set which you can then export. And of course, there are a number of different filter opportunities there. Contract inventory exploration tool. You can look at all the different PIIDs and their value associated with any type of vehicle. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 0. And then do more research on those and see what's expiring on a best in class, what's expiring on a tier 1, and then make that an opportunity for yourself. Schedule sales query. Okay, I'm going to give it away. This one's public. I care about the professional services schedule, so I'll talk about it from that perspective. You can look at the professional services schedule and really project or look in the future and see, look into the past and see where the spend has been going back years, more than 5 fiscal years. And then export that information. You can also look at sales by geography. So this is a great tool. In terms of the small business dashboard, this allows you to look at agencies and how they're meeting their obligations to dollars going to different socioeconomic categories. Can filter by category or filter by department here. There's also a little node right here that says BIC addressable. Remember, BIC stands for best in class. Common and defense centric spend tables. This is the category taxonomy. Category management taxonomy. This tells you how government assesses its spend. So in 2018, or I'm going to assume we're in fiscal year 19 now. So I'm going to assume this is fiscal year 18. $281 billion worth of government spend. Where did it go? And you can get an idea of that. This one is also public. Top 20 analysis tool. This one is not public. Right, so you can, again, filter by department, agency, tier, and it just gives you your top 20 and any amount of spend. And you can dig into and highlight for more detail. This is an executive level, I believe. So it assesses agency performance by best in class and spend under management goals by fiscal year. Tier 0 contracts, which is really where we're focusing. I think people often get caught up on, I'm not on a best-in-class vehicle, I'm on schedules. What tier is that? Well, schedules are tier 2, except for one exception. That's a best-in-class in IT. But tier 2, tier 3 all contribute to spend under management goals. And the real focus here is getting money from tier 0 to manage spend. So moving it onto tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. So that's why you'll see those receive a specific breakout here. There are also a number of different tabs where it indicates best-in-class opportunities, category-specific views, department views. Executive summary, super high-level stuff. How are the category management goals being mapped to the president's management agenda, which is calls out category management specifically as something that should be done. Best-in-class cost avoidance. So there's a link on this dashboard. This dashboard is not public right now to the methodologies that each category looks at in terms of, okay, if you're using best in class, how is it helping you avoid cost to the government, or how is it saving the government money? Each category has to justify it. It's only one of the many factors that go into considering best in class vehicles. And that information is here. So again, you'll see there aren't that many filters here. It's mostly for, okay, by the category or by the best-in-class solution itself. And again, these screenshots are all unfiltered information. So what you're seeing here is grainy, but it's also covering the entire government. There's a few more. The sum by agency and tier. So by every category, the information gets sliced and diced. I imagine that category managers would focus in on agencies or departments and see where the money's going in terms of the category taxonomy, and then see, okay, we have this much in tier 0 or best in class, and we need to make some decisions here. High level. Agency category profile report. This is just a deep dive. This is an awful lot of information. So this is yearly obligations by quarter, by category, internal spending components, spend under management distribution, top suppliers, top subcategories of spend. It's in a way, it's sort of a summation of some of the dashboards you've seen before, but it does call out specifically how agencies are doing in terms of their best-in-class performance. IT agency profile report. I'm in professional services. I don't really want to give this too much cover here because it's not really germane to me, but I included it for completeness sake. It does have obligations by quarter. It breaks down subcategories. IT is one of the only categories, I believe, that breaks down their subcategories further into functional groups. They have subcategories, and you'll see that discussed in this dashboard, as well as top OEMs, which is kind of the same as top suppliers. Second to last one, general workstation spend analysis. Think of a workstation as you go into an office, you sit down at a cube, everything that comprises what you're looking at for your setup that lets you go to work, your docking station, your computer, your phone, the software on the computer, all of that comprises your general workstation. So this is an analysis of trends, spends, agencies. Freight tender spend, now we're talking about logistics, right? So these are packages, top companies that provide it. There's a separate tab that breaks it out by company, by month, going back to FY15. And that is the end of that. So coming back to that, quickly ran through the 15 different screenshots. Each one in that presentation aligns to, they're in the same order. The survey is in the same order as the presentation, so you can cross-reference them and make a call. Pick any of your top 3. I think we've installed bounds, so you can't select more than 3, but you can select 1 if you like, or 2, or 3, but not more than 3. One of the other parts for the supplier marketing initiative is a one-pager that talks about category management. Most of the time when government talks about category management, it's talking about category management to itself. So this takes category management and really tries to explain it in a way that breaks it down for suppliers in the professional services category. So it links to some of the policy drivers. Why are we doing this in the first place? The President's management agenda, OMB memos, that's what's driving it. Tells you what the best-in-class contracts are in our category, as well as what tier 2 is. That's in the right side, as well as how we measure success. And there's a little space at the bottom that says, if all of this is blowing you away and you really just want to know how to do business with the government, talk to the Vendor Support Services Center, which is on the bottom. Oops. The second page indicates some tools. If you want to see where my preference is for dashboards, that's where it would be. But actually, I would recommend not looking at it until you take the survey, because I do want to get information from you that's, I was going to say not corrupted. That's a little bit too drastic use of a word. Just influenced, not influenced by anything that I want. Who is this supplier marketing initiative for? You should already be a contractor with the federal government. Again, my focus is the professional services category, and these are the contract vehicles that we're responsible for. There's also SmartPay, a whole different animal. I'm not touching SmartPay. It's just PSS, Professional Services Schedule, which is a multiple award schedule, OASIS, OASIS Small Business, HCATS, and HCATS SB. When? So what's the timeline for all of this? The content is everything that you see, everything I've shown you today is all under development. I said it when I started. This is the first time I've presented it. I really want to hear from you. You can take the survey. Actually, when I floated an initial draft, I did not put my contact information in. I apologize, but it's there now. And so if you want to reach out to me, I'm here. And we can talk about the handout. We can talk about the webinars and how they're structured and how you think that they play together, or why you voted for the dashboards that you voted for when you took the survey. Those are the conversations I'm looking to have. When everything is approved, we'll put it out there on Interact, we'll stage webinars, and we'll make it happen and start pushing it out. And that'll happen in the second quarter of fiscal year 19. In case that's opaque, between January and the end of March in calendar year 2019. So that is everything that I wanted to cover today. I think I was about 25 minutes. So now I'll start answering questions if anyone has them. I see a couple up there. I'm just going to read them out and then answer them. One of them was, hello, I took the survey yesterday. Let me know if I need to do it again. If you already took the survey once, I think that's good enough. If you have changed your mind after hearing it from me, you can do it again. I think you'll be allowed. If not, the link will tell you that you're not allowed. So feel free to go ahead and try. The survey, if you're looking for it and you haven't found it yet, it is being sent out. So I would say search your inbox for an email from Julia Nelson, and she has provided the link in the kind of latest announcement about this presentation. And if you still can't find it after that, please contact me. You can see my contact information up there, and I can get you the survey link. So one way or the other, we'll share that. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Zachary. That was terrific. A lot of information. We look forward to Q1 and more to come. So thank you. And thank you for all of you that have joined us today on the webinar. Later this afternoon, we will send you an email asking for your feedback. We would really appreciate any feedback that you can provide. It helps us make these webinars even better for you and more useful. So please take a few minutes to answer a brief survey. The email that you will receive will also include a link to today's recording of the webinar. So if you'd like to go back and re-listen, you'll have that link. And also for SECAF members, we will post this webinar for your future reference on the SECAF website, which of course is accessible to you and to all SECAF members. And it looks like we do have another question that just came in, and we'll go ahead and take that question.
Oh, it's so will the slides be sent out? Hopefully you've already received them, but if not, yeah, that's not a problem. None of this is a secret.
I'll resend this one.
Great.
Okay, and that is it for today. Thank you, everyone.